You are fake news.
Fake news. What do you think?
This is the Fake News Watch, your source for alternative news without the alternative facts. I'm Kaylee Fagan. Today, we're going to talk about bias, a word that gets thrown around a lot when people complain about the news. We're going to look at a story from Breitbart that was posted on February 9th and has already been shared on Facebook more than 1,300 times. The article comes in reaction to a speech that Senator Elizabeth Warren gave to try to prevent Jeff Sessions from being confirmed as the new Attorney General last week. But let's take a second for some context. Last week, we all saw Senator Warren get told to take her seat after reading a letter from Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow, about why she believed Sessions shouldn't be appointed to a federal judgeship from way back in 1986. Why was Mrs. King writing about Jeff Sessions? The Alabama senator, who somehow manages to look like a small child at age 70, has quite an interesting history with civil rights. His supporters like to argue that he helped to desegregate schools in Alabama, and about that one time that he prosecuted a group of KKK Klansmen. However, his opponents, including the NAACP, often remind us that he has on multiple occasions tried to suppress access to voting for Black people, and that he has a record of using racial slurs at work. So we're talking about a pretty complicated dude here, but Mrs. King's letter, surprisingly, was not the problem that this Breitbart writer had with Warren's speech. He was much more concerned with Warren's reference to an email sent by a former communications director from Sessions' office, which she had hoped would highlight Sessions' history of anti-immigrant sentiment. The short version of the story is that this communications director used to send a crap ton of emails and press releases to reporters. And at one point, he sent a mass email that only had a link to some info about Facebook stocks with the subject line, "Does this mean Facebook has enough money now to hire Americans?" But the writer of this article told the story a little differently. He says that Warren criticized Sessions, quote, because his office suggested in a press release that a wealthy American corporation should hire Americans. This is a problem for a couple reasons. One, an email is not the same as a press release. And two, a sarcastic rhetorical question is just not the same as a suggestion. So there's clearly some unfair semantics happening here, which is one of the very first signs of an unchecked bias. And speaking of wordplay, the writer also uses the story as a time to accuse Senator Warren of being a thopulist, which I'm pretty sure is a play on the word populist, even though it relies on the incorrect pronunciation of the word faux, which would be hilarious, except that I know he knows how to say that word because he also uses it to add a new spin to the racist nickname Trump gave Warren, calling her Pocahontas. So it's not even really a mistake, it's just a really bad pun. He goes on to complain that the reference in question felt like 35 hours instead of 35 minutes into the speech. And if you look really closely, you'll see a mistake that Breitbart editors failed to catch. Yep, right there, Sessions is not from Arkansas. That's not bias, people. That's just false. And embarrassing. The rest of the text is dripping with sarcasm, several accusations of hypocrisy, and even a few jabs at Hillary Clinton just while we're here, but the damage is done at this point. So, why is this important? I'm not going to argue that bias in reporting is unavoidable or even uncommon. The fact is that journalists are human beings and they have biases, but part of the job description involves constantly checking your biases in an effort to be neutral. The biggest manifestation of this writer's bias is that he ultimately refused to address Warren's original concern about Sessions possibly being a racist, and the people in the comments filled in the gaps. By molding the conversation to meet your bias, you blur the line between fact and opinion, which gives that guy a pretty comfortable place to blur the line between a socially acceptable opinion and just bullying people online. If you want to defend Jeff Sessions, you'll need to actually address the problems that people have with his policies, and in the name of good journalism, please at least just do it in an opinion piece. Thanks for watching, and please remember to support real, verifiable news and flag anything that might look a little fishy. Long story short, seek the truth and share it.